Hello, friends. This is Scott Monty. Stand by for commentary.
Welcome to the Full Monty, where you'll be exposed to commentary and analysis from the week's digital news. You give us 15 minutes, and we'll save you hours. And now, here's your host, Scott Monty.
Hi, and welcome to the Full Monty, an audio companion to the newsletter of the same name. Each week, I pick a couple of the more pressing issues and inject some insight, opinion, and wit into this 15-minute show that's sure to give you a better sense of what's affecting the industry. Maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you won't, but I hope it makes you think. This week, the ethics of exclusion in ad targeting, and Vine didn't have to wither away. Facebook and racial targeting. Normally, when you hear about racial profiling, it's in the context of some sort of police or security issue. Some person in a position of power or authority is choosing to call someone out because of the color of their skin or a perceived ethnicity, religion, or country of origin. Criminal profiling, generally, as practiced by police, relies on a group of characteristics they believe to be associated with crime. Examples of racial profiling are the use of race to determine which drivers to stop for minor traffic violations, or the use of race to determine which pedestrians to search for illegal contraband. But what about when it comes to advertising? Well, in an article on ProPublica, a site that touts its raison d'etre as journalism and the public interest, ran this headline: Facebook lets advertisers exclude users by race. Facebook system allows advertisers to exclude black, Hispanic, and other quote-unquote ethnic affinities from seeing ads. And its lead reads as follows. Imagine if, during the Jim Crow era, a newspaper offered advertisers the option of placing ads only in copies that went to white readers. Fairly incendiary language, wouldn't you agree? And to prove their point, the authors went on to demonstrate how they could create an ad in the housing category that could exclude a variety of ethnic affinities, as Facebook calls them. When they asked the civil rights lawyer, he gasped and said, "This is horrifying. This is massively illegal. This is about as blatant a violation of the Federal Fair Housing Act as one can find." Well, for Facebook's part, the company indicated that it provides the tool, while the ad and how an individual or company chooses to target that ad is not Facebook's purview. Their statement in full reads, "We expressly prohibit discrimination and take prompt enforcement action when we determine that ads violate our policies." But let's get back to this concept of ethnic affinities. That is not the same as actually targeting people who say they're one of those racial groups. That's because, if you've ever noticed, Facebook doesn't allow you to indicate your race. Anyone can see this for themselves. Go to your Facebook profile. You can enter your birthday, your gender, your religion, your political views, languages you speak, yes, even pirate, yarr. But you can't indicate your race. Aside from housing and employment advertising, it's incredibly helpful to be able to fine-tune the advertising targeting to particular groups. Over on Marketing Land, Danny Sullivan called out an excellent example of the company Bevel, which creates razor blades specifically for African American men, who are more likely to get razor bumps than other races. Therefore, wouldn't it be a waste for Bevel to advertise to the general public without some sort of ethnic affinity targeting? And while we're at it, what kind of advertising has gone into Ebony Magazine or programs on Univision? This isn't something that's unique to Facebook. Recently, in the AT&T-Time Warner merger, there was an announcement that said it may result in opportunities where companies can get granular with TV advertising. The quote from the Wall Street Journal is, "Cable and satellite TV operators have long promised marketers would be able to get target TV commercials to individual homes." Such addressable or targeted advertising uses set-top boxes to route commercials to specific households or neighborhoods based on data about income, ethnicity, gender, or other characteristics." End quote. Yes, Facebook and others will need to monitor this and ensure that advertisers adhere to their policy. That's a given. But the problem that this commentator has is with the article and its inflammatory headline and lead. My colleague Christopher Barger pointed out the ultimate truth here. It's a really, really narrow read on ad targeting to lead with, "Facebook lets advertisers only pitch to white people." You're a marketer. You know how this works. And you know that the color that matters most to 90% of marketers is green.
Get your trivia skills ready for the Naked Truth.
This week's Naked Truth trivia question: how is MIT getting into the spirit of Halloween? Answer later in the show. And now, page 2. Dying on the Vine. You've no doubt heard the rants I've shared here about Twitter, its lack of communication, a leadership vacuum, and complete absence of a strategy. Well, that's coming to a head now, and it begins with Vine. But first, some positive Twitter news. On October 27th, Twitter released its Q3 numbers, and they looked remarkably robust. Earnings of 13 cents per share versus analysts' estimate of 9 cents per share. Revenue of $616 million versus an expected $606 million. And 317 million users, beating analysts' expectation of 315 million users. On the less than positive news side, Twitter also announced that it was laying off 350 people. That's 9% of its workforce, in an effort to mollify Wall Street and restructure. The cuts will come from sales, marketing, and partnerships. But the bloodbath doesn't end there. Twitter also announced that it would be closing Vine, the 6-second video app that it acquired in October 2012, before the app even had a chance to launch. It was an acquisition almost of desperation, a defensive move designed to respond to the pressures of the newcomer Snapchat, as well as incumbents like Instagram and Facebook. Always Facebook. It was poorly thought out, and even though the videos were integrated into Twitter's stream, it was a separate community, and Twitter never treated it like one. Side note, it was Jack Dorsey, Twitter's current part-time CEO, who pushed then CEO Dick Costolo to make the purchase. And now, Half Jack is shutting it down. Nice. In its heyday, 2013, 2014, Vine grew like a vine. Stars were born seemingly overnight. Stars like Bat Dad, who had way too much fun with his kids and scared the hell out of his wife with his pop-up head covered in a Batman mask.
Jen! Put your seatbelt on. You're breaking the law.
And Uber hustler Gary Vaynerchuk even launched a Vine-centric agency called Grape Story that was a talent agency for Vine stars. But all of that came to a slow-motion stop as Twitter failed to put resources into the service. But all of that came to a slow-motion stop as Twitter failed to put resources into the service. Only last year did Twitter start to make it more lucrative for creators, buying Niche, a platform that connects creators with brands. And it experimented with longer videos and pre-roll ads, but that just didn't seem true to the service's 6-second beginnings. To make matters worse, last fall there was a secret meeting held between 18 of Vine's biggest users and Vine's development team. And the users levied some pretty high demands on the service in a last-ditch effort to get them to put the resources behind it. Their terms? If Vine would pay all 18 of them $1.2 million each, roll out several product changes, and open up a more direct line of communication, everyone in the room would agree to produce 12 pieces of monthly original content for the app, or 3 Vines per week. But there were multiple challenges. First, Vine was losing users to Instagram and Snapchat. Engagement was down. Abuse on the platform was rampant, just like at the parent company, Twitter. And the Vine team never really seemed to be in touch with its creators the way that YouTube was. And that's the key moral of the story here. Without taking the time to invest in improving your platform and in your most important customers, your product may die on the vine too. Just like plants, customers need nurturing, and if they're ignored or taken for granted, they'll wither away until you're left with a dry pot of soil and faded memories of life. And in honor of Halloween, here's my version of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. Once upon a platform jury, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious loop of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my Twitter door. "'Tis some Viner," I muttered, tapping at my Twitter door. Only this, and nothing more. Presently their ask grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was tweeting, and so insanely came your greeting, and so boldly you came pleading at my chamber door, that I was scarce sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Back into the platform turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is someone with verified status. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore." Quoth the Viner, "Nevermore." "Prophet," said I, "thing of evil, prophet still, if vine or devil, whether Snapchat sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore. Desolate, yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by Dorsey haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Instagram? Tell me, I implore." Quoth the Viner, "Nevermore." "Be that word our sign of parting, vine or fiend," I shrieked, upstarting. "Get thee back into the tempest and YouTube's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door." Quoth the Viner, "Nevermore." And the Viner, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Snapchat just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the YouTube o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. We asked you how MIT is getting into the spirit of things for Halloween. Scientists there have created an AI nightmare machine. The software generates a series of ghoulish faces, then runs them through an algorithm to make them progressively scarier. If you have an editorial you'd like us to read on the show, please get in touch with us at fullmontyshow@scottmonty.com. And if you've enjoyed this series, please consider becoming a patron and show your support at patreon.com/ScottMonty. And please consider leaving us a rating or review on iTunes. Be sure to check out other major stories from the October 31st edition of the newsletter. How well versed are marketers in the realm of digital? Well, according to Unilever's CMO Keith Week, there's a whole generation of marketers who are bluffing. Bottom line, it's time to get serious, embrace the digital world, and bone up on trends, skills, and your actual usage. Social media ads drive awareness and revenues for small and medium businesses. SMBs were 3 times as likely to rely on social ads as any other format. And they don't seem to differentiate much between the two goals of awareness and revenue, which is troubling. And finally, Instagram has partnered with mental health professionals and advocates to design a response to posts that could be about suicide, self-harm, or eating disorders. Well, that's all for this week. With any luck, your brain is a bit bigger now. Thank you for making me a part of your week and for being exposed to the full Monty. Until next time, I'm Scott Monty, and I'll see you on the internet.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the Full Monty newsletter and this program at fullmontyshow.com.
Nevermore.